students. I hope you're having a great time. I hope you guys are keeping really well, and I'm really hoping that life has been kind to you. No, please, I'm very sorry for the selection of my word, but I purposely chose the word kind because with all the mumbo jumbo that's happening around, I think kind is going to be most appropriate to the kind of situation that we have. Now, without any further ado, I would want to tell you why I'm here. Okay, let's begin with actually who I am. Why am I here? Why are you watching this? And what do you learn towards the end? My name is Suyukti Seth, and I shall be walking you through one of the most important pre-qualifiers if you are targeting the Christ University, which is called the Skill Assessment Test. We're going to be talking here about all the nitty-gritties, all the key pointers, all the things that you must do, all the things that you don't have to do, and the most important of the lot are going to be some very cool techniques that you can employ to be able to master the writing ability test, which is now also called the skill assessment test. Why are you watching this? So that by the end of this video, you have enriched yourself by so many pointers which you can actually put to use and be somebody who can, add a little bit of freshness to the kind of SAT that they're going to be expecting and ensure that your candidature is guaranteed in the Christ University. Now, the reason why I said that you would offer a fresh perspective after this is because try and understand. Every student of your age is pretty much going to have the same wavelength. Everybody is going to pretty much have the same kind of answers. So, what really sets you apart? Why is it that somebody gets selected and somebody does not? It is because the moment you qualify for this examination, that is the written examination, everybody comes onto the same level playing field. Now, what becomes a catch for the eye is the kind of personality that you put forward, the kind of traits that you have, the kind of articulation, the kind of clarity, the kind of modulation, and so on and so forth. So now it is all about the way you project yourself. And the better you do that, or in the more refined manner that you do that, the more your chances are. So whatever meets the eye is actually right here. So what we are going to be expecting out of you is that you figure out all the kind of obstacles that you generally, stumble upon whenever you're trying to be preparing for the written ability test or the skill assessment test, and then see how this video can help you troubleshoot those problems, because that is going to be the best way to be able to know. So it's going to be a perfect one-stop shop for you to be able to know how can you ace the SATs and secure your candidature, like I said, in the Christ University. Now that you know why we're here, let us begin. Now, beginning with, what are we here for? We're here for understanding the skill assessment test. If you just pay attention to the words over here, we're going to be assessing your skill. Now, how are we going to be doing that? They're going to be giving you a topic which is going to be impromptu. You will not have, enough time to be prepared for it. It is going to be extempore, which means you'll have to make sure that all of your creativity, all of your innovation, all of your intelligence, all of your articulation, everything is being used at that particular time itself, on that point. And whatever it is, your organization of thought, your structuring, all things need to assemble, and however you begin to project yourself in terms of the written format is who you are then. So that becomes the very exhibition of the kind of personality trait that you carry, and that is how they tend to be checking the kind of skills that you have, which is why it is called a skill assessment test. All right. Now, if you see in small, I've also written it's AKA writing ability test. Now, Christ initially used to ask a lot of the SATs. Then something happened wherein we don't really know what happened, but it just stopped asking all of these. And then it has again resumed. So, probably not for SAT, but for a lot of other colleges, this is a very important pre-qualifier. But for them, they might not have labeled it as a SAT, but they have clearly labeled it as a writing ability test. Writing ability test, VATs are the same as what we call the SATs. Is it that the name is different, but the format and the agenda and what exactly are they going to be extracting out of the written format, all of that pretty much remains the same. Let us now move forward to be able to know how is it that we can get better in our SAT so that we are 100% sure of what is it that we have written, and we don't really feel that, oh God, why do we really have to write something like that? Oh God, I would feel ashamed reading what I have written. So to be able to ward off all of those evil thoughts that come, let's just see how is it that we can get better with it. Now, what are we going to be talking about, or what is our 10-15 minute journey, whatever is going to be all about, is going to be first, of course, what is SAT? You have to know what SAT is all about. Although we've done a briefing about it, but you need to know in depth कि भाई उसकी ज़रूरत क्या होती है, क्योंकि जब तक we don't have the intention clear as to why we are doing, the motivation, the inspiration, the creativity, all good things never come along. So we need to know what SAT is all about. We need to know the techniques. Now, this is going to be the most important part of the presentation today. The do's and the don'ts, again, very underrated, but very, very important, because a lot of times we think that this makes me very cool. But in actuality, the person who is viewing you might not really find that very cool and very uber. In fact, that person might just get very irritated. So, reading the room, reading the audience, knowing the kind of person that we have, knowing the kind of topic that we have, all of those things become very, very important. And of course, towards the end, some generic information. This is going to be the kind of information that you already have. Now that you guys are Christ aspirants, you must be chasing that detail with both your hands. But still, just something that we'd want to very quickly browse through. Starting with the first, what is SAT? So basically, a SAT assesses candidate on their ability to think critically. So we are going to be seeing how incisively, how meticulously, how pedantically, how particularly can you think on a certain scenario? Are you the kind of person who's just going to, beat around the bush, or are you actually somebody who's going to be highly evaluative? You're going to say कि हाँ भाई situation को हम किस तरीके से, you can fine comb the situation, find out the nitty-gritties of the situation, and then act accordingly. Organize their thoughts coherently. Now, since it is going to be something which is given impromptu, what happens is the brain is wired in a very mysterious manner. So, when something is given to us extempore, it takes the mind a little bit of time to be able to settle down, cater to those thoughts. But what we don't have what we don't have to ourselves is the mercy of time. So, which is why is actually the liberty of time, right? Of course, that's where we are at the mercy of it. So, since the liberty of time is not there, the organizational pattern could actually take a toss. So, with this, what they try to see is that if you are ever stuck in this sort of a situation where you don't have a lot of time, are you somebody who's an effective thinker? Do you really think on your toes? Or are you a knee jerk person? Do you just jump into the situation and then think, let's see whatever we want to do? And present arguments concisely in a written form. Now, if you see written, which means SAT is going to be a written test. Now, why is the written part being emphasized so much? Because when we talk, a lot of people have good articulation, but actually penning those thoughts down is an art in itself. So when you have just about 10 minutes to be able to bundle up all of this and write it down, that's where the actual fight begins. So which is why SAT actually is a very, very important litmus test for them. It's like a very crucial step for them to be able to assess the candidate, because there is when they put you in a pressure situation and see how brightly you shine. Acing the CAT can significantly improve your chances of getting through the final selection round, of course, because like we mentioned, it is a pre-qualifier. You have to be qualifying this to be able to get into the next one. Right. Now, why is SAT important? So what are the things, like I said, which are going to be, put up to spotlight, beginning with the individual performance. Now, when you do the written examination, there are a lot of things that might have assisted your performance. Majority bit of it could also be fate. It could also be the luck factor. So here is when, or it could just be that, you must be somebody who's extremely studious. So once you've had a decent number, and as in, a decent threshold wherein I wanted a person to be having, say, X amount of marks, after that, it is going to be the personality that will outshine and not really the marks. So I don't want somebody who's a nerd all throughout. I want somebody who's an all-rounder, somebody who's going to holistically help my college and, develop as in terms of reputation, in terms of the abilities, in terms of the capabilities. And of course, it is going to be a two-way street, the individual as well, and of course the college as well. So the individual performance is something that is aced via this, or it is aced, of course, but it is also judged via this. The communication skill, very, very important. The kind of profession you guys are choosing for yourselves is all about communication. So if communication is not something that you're very comfortable with, or you don't know, exactly what is it that you want to say and how is it that you want to say, probably you could land yourself in, in troubled waters. So communication skill is a very important aspect. And in fact, I don't only talk about maybe the law fraternity. I think and in today's times, communication skill is the most important thing. So even if you have a good flair and you know how well can you articulate your thoughts and have it presented to the other person with absolutely no miscommunication, I think 80% of our life's problems are sorted. They're taken care of. So of course, communication skill देखते हैं. Analytical skill. The word analytical comes from the word analysis. आप किस तरीके से सिचुएशन का एनालिसिस करते हो, कितने अच्छे से सिचुएशन को स्वॉट में डालते हो. स्वॉट एनालिसिस ऑफ कोर्स एवरीबॉडी नोज. हाउ मच डू यू नो एक्चुअली इवैल्यूएट द सिनेरियो, you figure out, you fine comb, you see what are the detailings of it and then react to the scenario that are there. And how, what sort of a person you're. So your emotional tangent is also something that is highly reflected by the analytical skills that you have. So if you're the kind of person, who's just going to cry a river if there is a problem that has come and not start acting intelligently and a little phlegmatic in nature, then probably you're not made for this. So the kind of characteristic trait that you carry is something which is very important, and that shines bright through the analytical skill test. Demonstration of perspective. If you see, a sat will always look towards the end for an opinion, and the opinion has to be something that you will have to provide. With this, they understand the kind of person that you are. Are you somebody who's very neutral and just sits on the fence, or are you somebody who is very confident and is never shy of taking a stance? And then your stance again, speaks a lot. It speaks volumes about the kind of person that you are. Knowledge of CA. Of course, for every time you're going to be doing the SAT, there will be some amount of, at least some bits or fragments of, if not, bits of it. There are going to be some case study, or there are going to be some facts and figures, or there are going to be some quote, something that you're going to use, which is going to add validity and authenticity to it. So that will also help the candidate be assessed in terms of how well versed are you with your surroundings. And ultimately, it is going to be a preparation for your PI. So whether you qualify for the personal interview or not is going to be entirely dependent on how well do you perform in the PI. Sorry, in the SAT, which is why all of these are what the SAT begins to test the candidate on. Now, what are the key pointers? What are the kinds of things that you must keep in mind? Beginning with clarity of thought. No fogging of the mind. So brain fog बोलते हैं ना, when you have these hazy thoughts, when it's so blurry, there's no clarity, आपको समझ में नहीं आ रहा लिखना क्या है, and all what we tend to do is we tend to just keep writing all nonsense. No, that's not how it is. To the point, crisp, precise, strategic information is what they are looking for. Analytical skill, we just discussed in the previous slide, they're looking for how well can you actually evaluate the scenario. So they don't want somebody who's going to be all about drama. A little bit of drama in life hurts nobody. But in a scenario wherein, you actually need to act methodically, you need to act mechanically, of course, we don't want the feelings to be creeping in. Your writing skill. Now, you could be somebody who's very good in the heart and, of course, in the mind, but if you can't pen it down properly, then what is the whole point of it? So, of course, your writing skills will have to be on point. Time management is a very important aspect, because you have to finish all of that in about 10 minutes. It's a rule of 10 minutes. 10 minute में नहीं खत्म किया तो फिर कोई फायदा नहीं है. तो 11वें मिनट में अगर आपकी बत्ती जली, so it's going to make no sense again. Your creative instinct, because it is extempore. It's not something that you prepared previously. You can anticipate कि इसके इर्द-गिर्द आएगा. But ultimately, it is all going to come down to what you have at that moment. A lot of times we go blank, we freeze, and then we don't understand what needs to be done. And ability to weigh the situation. So every situation that has been given to you are two sides of the same coin, always remember. Your opinion matters a lot, which is why when we actually read about the attributes of the things that we must not do, we're going to also talk about it, that we must not be neutral. So how well are you going to weigh the scenario at that particular time? How are you going to react? How are you going to calm down the audience? And how are you ultimately going to, turn it all into an asset for the society? Everything matters. So you're going to have to wait to be able to see that it's not the kind of thing wherein you might just instantly solve the situation, but baki sab phir to aag lag gayi basti mein. So that's not the kind of idea that we want. Now, step-by-step guide, what are the essentials? What are the things that you can do to better your VAT writing? That is your skill assessment. Beginning with, you need to develop CRN, AR ability. How can you do it? Cultivate a strong reading habit. I think this has been something that you must be hearing from faculties innumerable, that you need to cultivate a reading habit. Reading is core.
to any fraternity, and I just don't talk about law or management or anything which is handpicked. If you read, you automatically become a better version, a better person, because the mind, it's like a gym, it's like a workout for the brain, right? So it's going to help flex the brain, it's going to help grow the perspective, and ultimately you might just, there could be a eureka wherein you think that, oh, I was always thinking in a very tunnel vision manner, and suddenly I see that, I'm now becoming multidimensional. And that is what the society needs. Society does not want orthodox, conventional, very hardened, they don't want people who are going to be very strict in the way they are. They don't want those adamant snobbish people. They want people who are going to be flexible, who are, who can orient their minds according to how the situation seems to be. Master the art of writing. This is very important. Please make sure that you're expanding your vocabulary on daily basis. Learn newer words. Words have a spell. All right. If you just pay attention, words ko spelling क्यों बोलते हैं? Because those spellings, they create a spell on the person, and it's actually true. Whenever you have somebody who speaks all of these charming words, aren't you enticed by looking, just hearing that person? And that happens with everybody. So that does not mean that you have to become Shashi Tharoor. But clearly, you have to be somebody who's at least, whose selection of words, whose choice of words are good. And also words help. Why? Because the moment you have a good word that is going to fit to the scenario, आपको पता है कि आपको इतनी लंबी कोई कथा देने की जरूरत नहीं है. So that can also be something that can come in. Understand the topic. Ideally, topics are asked in four categories: current affairs, abstract, social issue, business, and economy. Please understand the kind of topic that has been given to you. In a current affair topic, we don't want you to do some social, goodness. In a business and economy topic where they're talking about repo rate and all those things that are happening to the economy, they don't want you to become, all about kindness and good etiquettes and good morals. No, understand the topic to be able to know how well can you decipher it. And practice time management. You get about 10 minutes, out of which the first minute should always be to brainstorm, which means that you will begin writing all the points that you have, collate it in one corner. Take 8 minutes to write, and the last, most important 1 minute should be to proofread. Your spell check, your grammar check, all of that will have to be done. I know it happens so wherein when we write, we think, yes, sab sahi likha hai, but no, there are always mistakes at this point of time. So you're no more in fourth or fifth standard wherein, we'd allow anything which is grammatically wrong. We want you to now have a good flair of grammar, and there has to be mastery, that you have to have command on your language. So you must proofread to make sure that any error that you've made can be avoided, if of course needs to be done. All right, the most important and the interesting part of it, the techniques. Of course, SATs are traditionally the fancy versions of the old age essay writing. So if nothing suits your fancy, you can just begin by writing an intro, body, and conclusion. Please make sure your conclusion will always have the opinion. So there has to be a brief intro, maybe a line or two as to what do you think. Then the body, which has to be an expansion of your ideas, and conclusion has to be a wrap. Always remember the conclusion is the most important part because they have a lot of sats to read from. So they will always begin with reading the conclusion and upward. So they don't go from up to down, they go from down to up, because the moment they find your conclusion, that is your opinion, super appealing, that is what will keep them engaged. If they lose interest right there, they know, you know, as to what you have to serve. And of course, they're so seasoned, they're veterans. Unko sab samajh mein aata hai. So always make sure that you shine bright in the conclusion. Okay, now what are the techniques? So, depending on the kind of situation that you have or the kind of topic that has been given to you, you can employ either of these techniques. Beginning with root cause analysis and CAPA technique. RCA is root cause analysis, wherein there is a problem statement that has been given to you, and you actually do a root cause analysis. That is, you go down to the basics, to the very first step. Go back, you go onto the very first idea, and then see where exactly did it go wrong. And there's a kappa, which is, so once you have a root cause analysis, you know what has been the problem, you then do a kappa analysis, which is corrective and preventive actions. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take some corrective and preventive actions around it. Next is called the ORS technique, which is called opinion, reason, significance. In the significance, it has to, of course, be how are you going to serve the society at large. This is what they're going to be seeing. So there has to be an opinion. You have to give a reason as to why do you have this opinion, and the significance of it, as in how is it going to be an asset, how is it going to help serve the society. the PEX technique, which is called a problem, effect, cause, solution. You identify the problem, you tell the effect of what the problem is going to bring. You effect as in what are the consequences of it going to be. You tell us the cause as to what actually was the breeding ground for it, and then you finally give out a solution. Your solution again must have the opinion to itself. And the last is the ODA technique, which is called observe, orient, decide, and act. When you have abstract topics, social topics, these are the ways in which you can probably go ahead. I mean, you can always apply a ODA technique. So first you observe, you figure out what the scenario is, you orient, you make a strategy which is going to serve for those particular lot of people. You then decide, okay, that out of the following, this is what needs to be done, and then employ all of those techniques. Okay, very quickly, what are the do's and the don'ts? Please understand the topic. Don't read it in a rush only to realize later that, oh, मैं तो उल्टा पढ़ लिया, मैं तो गड़बड़ पढ़ लिया, ये तो कभी था ही नहीं. So be very patient. You have 1 minute to do it, and 1 minute is a lot when used judiciously. So please be in the game. Don't stay neutral, something that I emphasize in the start also, neutral mat rehna. They want freshness. They want something new to the table. They want originality. They don't want the same old, tale telling that has been happening since time immemorial. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए उनको. Don't be long. Always remember the quality matters. So it's not that how many pages that you write. It's about what you write in those pages that matter. So आप 1.5 पेज का लिखो, but content लिखो अच्छे से उसको break it down into nice pointers and you write it. That is what is going to matter. Be mindful. So the things that you need to avoid now. Conclusion is the most important. Don't miss it. If you miss this, you miss your spot in the Christ University. So, the very important. Provide counter arguments. Now, again, a lot of people don't tend to do that. So, if you think that something has been talked about in which majority of the society tends to think the other way, or your statement in itself has a counter argument to it, then always make sure that you have a line or two which is addressing that as well. So, if I'm going about solving a problem of the society at large, I will first have to acknowledge what the society thinks. I can't be a rebel. So I will give counter arguments only after having acknowledged what they have. So otherwise, please don't keep flying in the air purposeless. It does not have to be like aimless writing. It has to be focused writing. Mock sats. Okay. Now we think that we read and we've been, seeing all of these videos and that's it. We're prepared. No. You need to make sure that at least by the time the actual sat comes in, you would have written about 50, 60 odd sats. Only after get it corrected by whoever is the kind of person that you feel कि हाँ भाई इससे बात कर सकते हैं ये मेरा थोड़ा करा देगा. All of this is very important because if this is not happening and one is not correcting you about where are you going wrong, where are you meandering, where are you deviating, then it's ultimately going to be very very problematic. So please make sure you practice the marks, and whenever you write, please make sure you use data, case studies, stats, statistics, facts, and quotes. Not wrong once. If you don't know, it is okay. It's a good idea to do because this will give a more fancier version to your writing. But if you don't know any of it, please refrain from writing. Galat likhne se acha hai kuch mat likho. And of course, some generic information towards the end. So the expected first window is around the 11th and the 15th of April. The second is from 5th to 18th. The duration is going to be 10 minutes and the mode, of course, is going to be written. One more time, very quickly, let's just go through all things that we know. Structure is very, very important. It's like the VVIP. You can't write anything that is haphazard. There has to be organization of thought. Clarity, damn important again. You have to be crystal clear with what you have. So instead of having 3, 4 conclusions and opinions, stick to 1 or 2 and just make sure that you've neatly had everything organized around it. Give a very strong end. Don't be neutral. I'm telling you beforehand. And end it like you own the game. That's how it needs to be. Your confidence has to speak, it has to shine through what you've written. Be very confident. The way you write and the kind and the mannerism in which you project your thought automatically becomes a reflection of how confident are you. So please make sure that you're using very, very strong language. And strong language, like I said, does not mean radical. It means it needs to be something which is filled with confidence. And at the end, of course, be original. Please make sure you're not copying, you're not doing anything, which has been written somewhere and that you've just come and vomited it out. No, nothing of that sort. Make sure that it is you that is being reflected from the writing because that is what they want to be checking. I hope all of this was helpful to you. If there's anything more that you feel that we could inculcate, or if there's anything that you feel I can help you with in another video, please do write in the comment box. Like, share it with all of your friends who are aspiring for the the Christ University SAT examination, and I'd be very happy to make more videos around it. I hope all of this information has come in handy. I'll see you guys next time with another video shortly. Bye bye, everybody. Again, I hope the day, whatever remains of the day, is being kind to you. Adios, guys.